All right, we should be live now. So,
go check. 73-71. I like that. I took the points with LSU today.
All right, we should be live now.
All right,
yep, we are working.
Recording.
Let me see. If it doesn't work, we'll just go forward anyway. Yep, we are working.
Okay, so let's go to the segment recording. We'll start, guys, here with the college basketball segment here for Wednesday's action. Here we go. Sports Pick Info, college basketball picks, predictions, and betting information for the card on Wednesday, February 13th. I'm your host, Tony T, and we'll talk college basketball here with Mitch on the card for Wednesday. Before we do that, I just want to know our segment is brought to you by Sports Chat Experts, where top handicappers post their plays individually on a guaranteed to win.
It's going all right. I think it looks like we've got the simulcast working here so people can watch the show on my channel as well. This channel looks like we have quite a few people joining us, so feel free to comment. Rachel's here. Hopefully you can watch the show on my channel as well as on this channel. Looks like we have quite a few people joining us, so feel free to comment. We've tried the simulcast
hopefully you guys can see me. People are asking where's Mitch.
Failed miserably.
So you can see me, and hopefully this works. We tried the simulcast.
Now I think Tony said he kept using multiple.
Failed miserably.
Yeah, so too much on one computer. You try to broadcast, try to do that on one computer.
I have my restream.
But now I think Tony's idea is using multiple computers. I think we have it. But I think the weird thing is that I have my restream hooked up and it's showing the
double camera
of
it's very weird. Oh, I see what's happening. All right, I get it. Hang on. That's not what it's showing. So what's up is that I have. No, we're good. There you go.
Oh, I see what's happening. All right, I get it. Hang on. That's not what's up.
All right, I'm going to stop the segment here and do a
good.
I wonder if there's a way that I could take myself out of
it's okay. We can redo the intro. It's no big deal. We're still live anyway, so. It's only taking what's in the screen.
Two computers that are both broadcasting.
It's strange because I'm sharing the screen, but it's also showing me. Maybe it's an option.
It's just
that I can not show myself. Oh,
it's strange because I'm sharing the screen, but it's also showing me. Maybe it's an option that I can not show myself. That I didn't want to do.
I think I'll just stick with where I'm at, and we'll be happy with that. I think we have people joining us.
I think I'll stick with where I'm at, and we'll be happy with that. I think we have people joining us.
All right. Maybe they'll give you feedback on the image.
Oh, I see what they're saying. They're saying that we're getting double audio as well. Let's try it now.
Oh, I see.
How about now, guys?
They're saying that they're getting double audio as well. Please, let's try it now.
Double?
How about now, guys? Still getting double?
Double audio? Double audio. It's got me.
They're seeing two of me.
Taking my broadcast, put it into your restream. Unless they're hearing you twice.
Yeah, see, it works well when we're doing it on one computer, but it doesn't work on two.
If you're restreaming the signal, they would not be picking your mic into your live broadcast.
Which has delete.
Yeah, see, it works well when we're just doing it on one computer, but it doesn't work on two. That's the problem here.
I wonder. Yeah, see.
Mitch has delete audio.
All right. I know what I have to do. Unfortunately.
I wonder. Yeah, see.
Live show is clearer than it repeats.
All right. I know what I have to do.
So how about now, guys?
You know?
About 5 seconds late.
Live show is clearer than it repeats.
See, it's because it's showing me live and then the delayed broadcast. It shows me like in the corner because I'm screen sharing.
About 5 seconds late. See, it's because it's showing me live and then the delayed broadcast.
That's what I'm doing. I'm live broadcasting it to my audience.
Sure. Are you broadcasting to your audience at the same time you're doing this, or I don't get it?
That's what I'm doing. I'm live broadcasting it to my audience.
That's right, because you're putting this.
So it's showing me live on one,
into the
and then it's showing me 5 seconds later.
That's right, because it's picking up your sound as you're talking.
Correct.
That's what's
So
happening.
it's showing me live on one, and then it's showing me 5 minutes
on the other, but it's picking up your voice because you're going to probably have to put that computer in another room.
That's a good idea.
There's no sound where they can't hear your sound.
So this is what we're going to do.
That's right. Unless you have to delete your mic on that second computer you're using.
This is what we're going to do.
All right, Mitch is going to move his computer to another room, and we'll get started with the show so his audience can join us. I think we figured it out when he's putting this broadcast into his video software. What's happening is he's picking up his voice from the broadcast and picking up his voice as he's talking live to me. So I think the solution here is either to delete the microphone on that computer that he has, or put the computer in another room, which he's doing right now. So I think we're going to get that tech thing, get it corrected. Maybe he won't have to move that computer if we could figure out how we can delete his that microphone, and then we'll be able to roll with it. So I'm just happy to see that Michigan State win and cover against Wisconsin. They close as a 2-point favorite, and of course we talked about LSU.
The problem now is, here we go. No, this is actually. Bill Perry thinks it's funny, but that's okay.
Yeah, well, you got the solution. I think the solution next time will be to cut off the mic on that other computer, because I think that's what's causing the double sound.
All right, hold on a second. Let me just shut the door.
Okay. I was very happy to see Texas A&M cover against Georgia. I thought that was another that was our expert one today. That one was Texas A&M. Georgia's been terrible on the road. Lose most all their games in conference by 10 points or greater. They lose another one by double digits on the road. And we saw the game steam up to 5.5. It was 5 early this morning. All right. How's everything looking on your end, Mitch?
I think we're good to go.
We're good to go? All right. We got the solution. All right. We'll do a reset for the podcast audience out there. So let me know when you're ready.
Thanks, everyone, for your patience. Took us, the official count on that was 7.5 minutes.
That's right. That's right. All right. So you ready to roll?
Absolutely.
All right, let's go. Okay, let's get the pod. We're going to reset the show for the podcast audience. Here we go. Sports Pick Info, college basketball picks, predictions, and betting information for the card on Wednesday, February 13th. I'm your host, Tony T, and Mitch will join me here as we take a look at the college basketball card. But before we do that, I want to let you know our segment is brought to you by Sports Chat Experts, where the top handicappers list their plays individually on a guaranteed to win basis. We'll have a coupon code for you, and we'll talk about that later in the show. Let's bring him in. Mitch from Sports Chat Experts. Mitch, how are things going? We're welcoming your audience to the show.
Yeah, welcome everybody to the show. Sorry for the technical difficulties there, but sometimes you have to do it live to see exactly how to do it. Now, next week, we'll be more prepared going forward. Tony and I have been doing this show together for, 7 years at least, and I'm glad to be able to bring it to our channel as well, as our audience has grown into the Sports Pick Info brand for the podcast, and I'm glad that we've been able to expand that brand, bring in a lot of new cappers, and you can watch this show every single night on the Sports Pick Info channel, on Tony's channel. You can listen to the podcast on it's called Sports Pick Info. It's on iTunes, SoundCloud, it's on Spotify, it's on
Stitcher,
Google Podcasts. It's on pretty much everything. So you guys can listen to it, and we have different handicappers every single night.
We absolutely do. It's a really booked show. Adding more as we speak. I got an email today from Craig. We'll be adding Joe D'Amico to the lineup here as well. We just had Chip Chirimbus debuted last week. So, again, it's picking up every single day on our podcast at Sports Pick Info. Of course, those of you listen to us on iTunes, always do that search, Sports Pick Info, and subscribe to the podcast so you get notified of all our shows. Mitch, it's always February. You blink your eye and we're already halfway through the month, and that means March is upon us.
Yeah, March is upon us. It is definitely coming close, and it's lot of teams fighting for a spot in the tournament, but I still think a lot of things to be decided here.
Absolutely. We got a Wednesday card here. We'll talk about a lot of Big East action. We'll start it off here at 6:30 Eastern time with Providence at Villanova. This one on Fox 1. Villanova's going to lay 11 at home, total 135.5. Of course, Wildcats won the first meeting on the road, 65-59, building a huge first-half lead in that cover. But Villanova suffered their first Big East loss of the season with a 1-point loss at Marquette, but they covered as either a 1.5 or 2-point underdog in that game. Now, Providence broke their 3-game losing streak with a win at St. John's by 14. You know, Friars lost a lot of their scoring from last year. Remember, they started 5 seniors. They're struggling shooting the basketball. So here we go. Looks like Villanova, Mitch, laying double digits here against Providence.
Yeah, Providence just seems to, if it wasn't for bad luck, they wouldn't have much luck at all. Seem to be one of those teams that bad luck just seems to find them. Villanova, what we've seen from this team is the later it's gotten in the season, the better they've been. And I know that, last game they weren't able to get it done. But what we've seen throughout the rest of the season, though, is that, Villanova, we're starting to see a team that scores in bunches and can separate themselves from the competition in a hurry.
Absolutely. 8:30 Eastern Time, CBS Sports Network. We've got Creighton at Xavier. Boy, both teams with poor records in conference. I think Xavier's near the bottom of the Big East. Now, Blue Jays won their first meeting at home by 22. Team returns home after road losses at Villanova in overtime, which they covered, and at Seton Hall. Now, Xavier, well, they lost 6 straight, 8 of 10 after a 12-point home loss at DePaul. DePaul losing tonight. Musketeers have lost 3 straight at home. So here we go. Creighton Xavier on CBS Sports Network. Looks like this game's a pick-em, total 146.5.
Yeah, Xavier's just been so bad. And I know neither of these teams can seem to find the basket at all, and both of them have been absolutely terrible. We talked about Creighton earlier this season. We've talked about them all season. We've talked about Creighton for several years. The issue has always been defense with Creighton. With Xavier, the post-Chris Mack era is underway, and it appears that it might be a little bit of a battle at Xavier. Because, as different coaches change at different programs, they need to get their players in there to win. I'm leaning Creighton in this one as much as I've been against them on the road in the past. I think Creighton is probably my play here. Stefan Epps or whatever, who's on my YouTube channel, or used to be on my YouTube channel, he said to play Villanova on the money line. So, if you're looking for minus 1,000, if you're looking for 11-point favorites for me to give them out as money line picks, that's never, ever going to happen on any show. I think if those that have listened to my shows over the years and I'm more likely to pick a 30-point underdog to win outright.
I think we're seeing a new era in betting where people are playing moneyline parlays. They're parlaying a lot of these big favorites to teams.
I've seen a lot of it in the Facebook groups. A lot of guys posting tickets of these moneyline parlays, and it's just I understand the strategy, but I believe in betting. All of the value is always on the underdogs.
8:30 Eastern Time, Fox Sports 1. It's Georgetown Seton Hall. Seton Hall laying 4, total 155.5. Of course, both teams 5-6 in conference. Hoyas look to rebound after a 4-point home loss to Butler. Pirates have won 2 in a row at home. They beat Creighton by 5, covering as a 4-point favorite, but didn't cover in a 2-point home win to Providence. Seton Hall 6 of 7 to the under. We don't talk a lot about totals here, but they've been trending to the under. Fox Sports 1, Georgetown and Seton Hall. Seton Hall laying 4, total 155.5.
I struggle with Seton Hall because we've seen them play well against some of the better teams, and Georgetown, the same thing. They've been up and down all season long ever since that early season win at Illinois. We've seen them rise up and play well, but just not be able to finish. And that's the sign of a young team and of a new coach. Generally, teams that just can't close it. I don't know. I have to lean to Seton Hall here, but I certainly don't love this game.
10:30 Eastern Time, Pac-12 on Fox 1. Arizona State at Colorado. Buffs laying 2.5 at home, total 146.5. ASU won the first meet at home, 83-61. They were 7.5-point favorites, winning by 22. They rebounded after a 21-point home loss to Washington State by beating Washington at home by 12. What was that performance against Washington State? That was a head-scratcher. Colorado has won 3 straight. After a 22-point home win to Oregon, they come out my way out in SoCal, beat USC and UCLA on the road. So nice one on Fox 1. Arizona State at Colorado, with Colorado laying 2.5.
Yeah, Arizona State, I think, to me, it just looks like the play in this game. I just don't love the way that Colorado is playing, and I think that Arizona State is the type of team that if they got hot in March, they could win the Pac-12 tournament and end up in the NCAA tournament and probably give some people some problems. I think they're still, I don't follow the bracketology or any of that stuff, but I still think Arizona State is a team that can beat some teams out there, and I think that they have the roster to get it done. So I like them in this spot, even at Colorado in the altitude. I'm showing some inverse line movement here as well.
All right, we'll hit some quick hitters here from the rest of the card here on Wednesday. Sports Pick Info, guys. A reminder: best place to listen to us is over on Apple iTunes. If you would, in the search box, type in Sports Pick Info. Subscribe, download, rate, and review because you help the show out. And listen, we shoot these the night before, so you can listen to us in your commute in your car. Remember, you can take your iPhone or your phone, pair it into your car stereo, and listen to us in your morning commute. All right, Mitch, let's do some quick hitter action here. CBS Sports Network, we've got St. Louis and George Washington. I think St. Louis took it in a chin against St. Joe's, but St. Louis here is going to be laying points on the road. Looks at 4.5, total 129.5.
Yeah, George Washington's pretty much a dumpster fire this season. Just not a great GW team, that's for sure. And St. Louis, I don't know. There was a lot of talk in the offseason about some of the recruiting they were doing and some of the great players. I just haven't seen it translate onto the court. I don't know. Get the home team in late February, getting 4.5. I have to lean to GW here as much as I've been against them most of the season.
6:30 Eastern Time, SEC Network, South Carolina, Tennessee. Tennessee's going to lay some points here. 16 total, 154.5.
I sat through the first game of South Carolina and Tennessee this season. It was just a couple weeks ago in Columbia. And South Carolina played them extremely tough the first half. Chris Silva, I believe, had 21 points in the first half, and Brian Schofield didn't score at all for Tennessee in the first half, but we know that didn't last long, and Tennessee poured it on in the end. Sometimes these games, they pick up where they left off, and I think, unfortunately for South Carolina and Frank Martin, this might be the case.
7 Eastern Time, ESPN3, SMU at Temple, with Temple laying 5, total 144.
I just don't like the way that SMU is playing right now. 12-11 on the season. The Owls 17-7. I mean, they're so inconsistent. I don't know. Temple's just not a team that you could say is one of my strongest plays of the day. I just have so little faith in them because they're just so inconsistent. I think SMU just appears to be, they had some really good teams leading up to this year, but this might be a rebuilding year for the Mustangs. I'm going to take Temple here and lay the 5.
ESPN3 has Memphis at East Carolina. Memphis a road favorite here, 8.5, total 150.5.
This just has sucker bet written all over it. I like East Carolina and the points here. Memphis is playing pretty well, but East Carolina, it's one of those games where I feel they'll at least cover and probably have a chance to win it.
7 Eastern Time on Big Ten Network. Rutgers at Northwestern, with Northwestern laying 5.5.
Well, one thing that we've seen from both these teams is that they can seriously blow some leads. We saw Northwestern blow a gigantic lead the other day at Iowa on Sunday. And Rutgers, of course, this team, I think, hits the rim more than any team, hits the front of the rim square more than any team I've ever seen in the history of college basketball. I think Northwestern has got to rally here, and they have a good coach. They have some good players. Law played well last game. I don't know. I don't love this game, but it's probably a lean to Northwestern and laying the points. But you have to watch out for Rutgers here.
7 Eastern Time on ESPNU. It's Richmond and VCU, with the home team VCU laying 11.5.
I just like the way VCU is playing. They're kind of outside of that Shaka Smart shadow that they had been living under for a few years, the post-Shaka Smart. And the team was always still associated with Shaka Smart. But, now they aren't, and I think they're just a better team for it. They're playing pretty strong, and they're killing teams when they're winning.
7 Eastern Time, ESPN2, Clemson at Miami, with Clemson the road favorite here, 1 to 1.5.
Miami coming off of that overtime loss against North Carolina. They played pretty well in that game, only to, North Carolina hit the 3 at the buzzer and got the game to overtime, and the Canes just couldn't hold up. Clemson takes a lot of really bad shots. I could see Miami winning this game outright.
7 Eastern Time, ESPN3, Wake Forest at Florida State. Florida State going to lay a ton here, but Wake Forest has been bad. Florida State minus 18.
I'm gonna guess that Danny Manning is going to be fired shortly. It's not. They won't do it before the season ends because there's only a month left to go. But I'm going to guess that he's not going to be the coach at Wake Forest next year because, like you said, Wake Forest, they haven't just been losing. They have been losing, like doubled up, like double losing. Not just losing by 10, losing by 20, not just losing by 20, losing by 40. They've been getting absolutely crushed. Meanwhile, Florida State is so athletic. Another inconsistent team, a team that probably you would think would be better than what they are. But at the same time, I have to look for the Noles to blow them out in Tallahassee.
7 Eastern Time, ESPN Plus, Iona at Siena. Siena laying 2.5. Siena got a nice win against Rider.
Yeah, we are at that time of the year, that Iona-Siena game. It was only a matter of time before we were going to see this one. And, Siena laying 2.5 here, 5-5 against the number at home. Iona has just been absolutely dreadful on the road. 1-9 against the spread, 1-9 straight up. Just 3-7 against the number in the last 10 games. I think Siena, it looks like a little bit of a trap, but I think they squeeze it out.
8 Eastern Time, ESPN3, Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech at home laying 12.5, total 122.5.
Yeah, Virginia Tech is just a great defensive team. We saw them hold North Carolina State to 24 points earlier this season. Georgia Tech looked absolutely dreadful against Notre Dame last time out. I had it was on Sunday, and I had the game on the upper right-hand corner TV, so I suffered through it. And let's just say I couldn't wait for the AAF game to come on. It was not fun to watch. I just think that Virginia Tech puts the clamps on them here. I think this game, I like the under in this one, 122.5.
Here's a nice matchup on ESPN3 at 8 Eastern Time. We got Syracuse at NC State. NC State a home favorite here of 3.
I was looking at this game earlier, and what I noticed is that NC State's wins come against the really lousy teams, the Pitts, the Georgia Techs of the world, while Syracuse, they've lost to some of those teams as well, but they do have the win over Duke, and they have some other big wins. Syracuse getting 3 points on the road, I could see that defense being frustrating for NC State.
Yep. NC State also played a very weak non-conference schedule. We move over here to 8:30 Eastern Time, SEC Network. It's Ole Miss and Auburn, with Auburn at home laying 8.5, looking for revenge.
Yeah, Auburn's looking for revenge. Got to remember they lost that first matchup at Ole Miss, and let's just say it was a pretty big upset at the time. And I think that Auburn is going to be pretty focused. Ole Miss went on; they looked like they were going to be a pretty decent team, and then all of a sudden they went on this losing streak. They've come out of the losing streak recently, but the wins are against, I believe, Georgia and Texas A&M. I don't have it in front of me, but I believe that's who they beat, and I just don't have a lot of faith that Georgia and Texas A&M, they're legitimate Division I programs, but Auburn is, Auburn's a force.
Ole Miss's defense has just been atrocious of late.
Yeah, against a physical team like Auburn, they might be in trouble, especially with the revenge factor, because that they're not going to take their foot off the gas.
Oh yeah, that's no doubt about that. We move over to 9 Eastern Time, ESPN2, Texas Tech and Oklahoma State. Tech is now up to 7 here, total to 127.5.
We've seen, this is an interesting one to me because we've seen Oklahoma State choke away leads like no one's business this season. And, it's like they play well in the first half and they just wilt, especially in the final 10 minutes of the game. And Texas Tech is a team that we've seen play well, win a lot of games. I mean, they're 19-5 this season. They've won 75% of their games. But what we've also seen from Texas Tech is that when it comes to covering a bigger number, not always so impressive in getting that done, especially on the road.
And on Big Ten Network at 9 Eastern Time, Minnesota, Nebraska. Nebraska, a huge losing streak. They're favored here by 4, total 137.5. Nebraska, those shooting woes have hit them again. They're just not shooting the bucket right now, and they've done that for the last several years. Actually, last year they shot the ball a little better. They got in some transfers last year. They increased the shooting percentage, but, man, they have just tanked shooting the basketball.
I think we're getting a little value here because Minnesota's coming off of that blowout loss at Michigan State, but I could forgive that. And they've lost their last 3 games. I believe it's Purdue, Michigan State, and maybe at Wisconsin or something in that. But when you look at this Nebraska losing streak, I think they've lost 7 or 8 in a row. You got Illinois in there, you've got Rutgers in there at home, you've got Ohio State in there. So I mean Ohio State, and I mean at Nebraska. I don't mean in Columbus. I mean at Nebraska. These were gimmies for the Huskers for years. Since they've joined the Big Ten, they've always been able to win at home, but that has seemed to abandon them as well.
Yep, no doubt about that one. Sports Pick Info, our college basketball segment here with Mitch. And our segment is brought to you by Sports Chat Experts, where the top handicappers in the nation post their plays individually on a guaranteed to win basis. We have leaderboards to show you the hot handicappers. Every play is archived and for you to be able to research, and each handicapper on the site is documented. We have some really hot cat. Look at who's at the top right here. Our buddy Craig Trapp has been on fire here. Right now, if you use the coupon code TONYT, 15% off your order, Mitch. And we see you post your dog of the day up on Sports Chat Experts.
Of course, what I do is I post whatever's the latest video on the YouTube channel is on Sports Chat Experts. So actually, this one will be up there as soon as the show is over.
Nice. All right. So remember, guys, the coupon code TONYT, 15% off your order over at Sports Chat Experts. You can pick up Greg Trapp's 30-day or 7-day package right over at Sports Chat Experts. All right, we'll continue our rundown here from college basketball. 9 Eastern time, ESPNU SEC battle between Vandy at Florida. Florida's going to lay double digits here at -10.
Vandy has been absolutely terrible this season, but this is hardly the Gators teams that we've seen, from the past. And, it's not like they haven't had their opportunities either. It's like the Florida's had chances, but at 12-11, this Florida team is, they're lucky if they make the NIT. Vandy, though, just terrible. 1-5 on the road, 3-3 against the number on the road. They're getting 11 points here, but I don't think that's enough.
10 Eastern time, Pac-12 network, UCLA at Cal. UCLA on the road laying 8.
Yeah, I think that Cal is pretty much one of the worst major conference teams in the country. So as much as we've been against UCLA over the past, through the entire Steve Alford era, we will we'll take them here without Steve Alford, of course.
The way Cal's been playing, they look like a bad mid-major team also.
Yeah, Cal would be one of the worst mid-major teams. They would be terrible. The fact that Stanford only beat them by 3, I'm holding that against Stanford as well.
No doubt about that. We move over to a 10:30 Eastern time late night game, CBS Sports Network. Boise State at Fresno, with Fresno laying 6.5.
Boy, this is one of those games you wish a football game broke out, right? Boise versus Fresno. They played twice this year. I could watch it again. It was 1-1. They could settle it, play the boxing trilogy. But Fresno's the better team this year, and at home you have to figure that they get it done.
Late night game, 11 Eastern time, USC at Stanford. We know USC's had their issues on the road. Stanford at home on this one on ESPNU, laying 1.5, total 146.
Yeah, this is one of those games that if I did live on the East Coast, I certainly wouldn't be staying up to watch this one on ESPNU. As here's where the Pac-12 gets that bad reputation, because they'll show the college basketball games, these lousy college basketball games on ESPN, but they don't show some of the decent college football matchups, and it bleeds over. It really does. And USC is just 1-5 on the road this season, 1-5 against the number on the road. Stanford 7-2 straight up at home, but just 5-4 against the number. I still got to hold that Cal performance against Stanford. I'm going to take USC to get their second road win of the season.
Hey, Mitch, any of these small major conferences you want to talk about, other games in the small conferences here?
Yeah, I love Vermont tomorrow. I've said that every single week. I've taken Vermont every single show and every single one of my live shows on mine. So I know that my audience wouldn't forgive me if I didn't take them here. They're playing New Hampshire tomorrow. New Hampshire's 3-20 on the season coming into this one. When we look at Vermont, they're 8-2 against the number at home this season, and 16-5 against the spread this season, Vermont. And we have taken them blind 21 times this season and have hit over 75% of our bets on the Catamounts. I'm not jumping off the ship now. There's no reason to. I think they blow New Hampshire out of the building, but I just think that we're probably looking at a 30-point number here.
Mitch, on these mid-major teams, I know they're not in action tomorrow, but your thoughts on this UL Monroe team?
I haven't seen a lot of them.
Oh, you got to take a look at them. They're covering like crazy. One of the best free throw shooting teams in the nation, can shoot the ball, and that's some team you want to get on your radar.
We'll be there on it.
You got it. Here on Sports Pick Info, our college basketball podcast here with Mitch. And Mitch, on this card on Wednesday, any side or total really catch your fancy here?
Well, I do like that under in that Georgia Tech West Virginia Tech game, and I do love Vermont. I don't care what the spread is.
All right, there you go. Mitch here on Sports Pick Info. Reminder, guys, we're on YouTube now. You can search our channel, Sports Pick Info, and be sure you push that subscribe button. And if you would, wherever you're listening to us or watching us, always give us that thumbs up, give us that like. We greatly appreciate it. And Mitch, we talked about Sports Chat Experts. What are you going to have up there on the site tomorrow? Remember that coupon code, Tony T, gets you 15% off.
I'll have, I believe, 5 college basketball picks. I haven't done any NBA yet, but I'll have probably at least one NBA. I've been trying to tread lightly on the NBA and go heavier on the college basketball.
Oh, yeah, there's more choices.
I did have the Celtics tonight, and they did out in the premium area, and I had them as a premium pick, and they outrighted the Sixers as a 6.5-point dog without Kyrie Irving.
That's right. That's a big one right there for Boston there on their bounce back after those 2 dreadful performances, and they come back firing. All right, guys.
Also, I gave out over in the Picks and Parlays Facebook group. We had I joined in the discussion in the Facebook groups just as much as everybody else. That's why I always recommend if you have picks, it's a great place to put them. Is in the Sports Chat Facebook group, the Picks and Parlays Facebook group, and maybe we'll do a Sports Pick Info Facebook group for all the cappers and everybody to put stuff in there as well. And I loved Louisville today. I don't know why I didn't give them out as a premium pick. I love it.
All right, nice.
They're slaughtering Duke, but I did give the pick out in the Picks and Parlays Facebook group.
Nice. Let's see. We got that one right now. It's 56-36 here in the second half. So nice there. Nice one there, Mitch. And that one's Steve.
Louisville's really stepped it up against the good teams. We saw them beat North Carolina, the worst loss of Roy Williams' career, and it was at North Carolina this season. And this is just a team traditionally steps up in the big games, and they have a coach, Chris Mack, who played at Xavier or was a coach at Xavier, which was another program that seems to be a giant killer.
That's right. Giant killer, no doubt. And of course, looks like Michigan's going to go down in flames tonight.
Yeah, it looks like they didn't get the comeback done against Penn State. I would have lost if I had in-game betting here. So glad I didn't.
All right, Sports Pick Info. We're joined by Mitch. Of course, those of you watching this on the podcast or on segment video, check Mitch out. We also did an NBA segment with us. And for our live audience, we'll be right back to cover the NBA. All right, we'll go ahead and set the NBA up here.
Not a lot of people watching on my YouTube channel, but maybe people will.
Yeah.
If we do it every week consistently and I advertise it a little better. I could advertise it during the dog of the day, let people know that we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Post the link in the Facebook group. Maybe we should do a Facebook group for Sports Pick Info, though, so some of the people that are guests on the show can go in and give some free picks. And,
yeah. Boy, Orlando did it again, man. That's a nice one. Orlando covers that game. They went down in flames there.
Orlando against the Pelicans, dog of the day.
Yeah. God, how can you give New Orleans more? That does not make sense to me.
Now, it's easier. Some people say, like, when I give out after the game is over, they'll say, well, that was an easy one, though. It's like, yeah, there's so many easy ones, but to be honest, that was an easy one.
Yes.
Take it. I thought the Celtics were an easy one, but that's, I thought the Sixers were too obvious there.
Yeah. Let's see here we are on that.
Boy, San Antonio beating Memphis outright. It looks like a lot of outright dog winners so far.
Yeah.
Like the Celtics, the Spurs, and the Magic, all dogs, all outright winners in the NBA.
Hawks do it again.
Money line parlay people would love would have really cashed in if they would have done it tonight.
Yep. The money liners. All right, we're setting up here the NBA segments. We're ready to go. Here we go. Sports Pick Info, NBA picks, predictions, and betting information for the card on Wednesday, February 13th. I'm your host, Tony T. We'll take a look at all the 11 games from the NBA on Wednesday. Big card as we head toward the All-Star break. Of course, this segment is brought to you by PicksandParlays.net, where the top handicappers in the nation post their plays. I'll have a coupon code for you later in the show. Let's go ahead and bring him in. Mitch here on Sports Pick Info. And Mitch, here we go. Just a couple more days until the NBA gets a nice little 6-day vacation.
Yeah, I really hate the NBA All-Star break, and to me it's like baseball. It's just a little bit too long, but with all these back-to-backs and the way that the players, how strong the union is and everything, they're negotiating. The All-Star break, it is what it is. So we'll be ready. College basketball will take center stage, and we'll have plenty of college hoops to fill the void.
Absolutely. All right, we got a big card, of course, as some of these teams will be closing out play here before their long break. 11-game card. We'll get started here with the Houston Rockets at Minnesota Timberwolves on ESPN, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Of course, there was no line on this one, and I believe this one is still online because we're not sure about Andrew Wiggins. He got a little stomachache or illness, I should say. I don't know the specifics of it, but he's questionable for this game. Of course, he missed the game against the Clippers, which they won. They did break a 4-game losing streak by beating the Clippers, and they had lost 6 of 7 here. T-Wolves did catch the Clippers on the tail end of their 6-game road trip, by the way. So the Rockets, they've won 4 or 5, bouncing back with a 16-point home win to Dallas on Monday. That came after that loss to OKC, 117-112 on Saturday, blowing a big lead. So no line here on this game on ESPN, Mitch, Rockets and Timberwolves.
Yeah, the Rockets are eventually going to get healthy. It's just they're not there yet. Right now, as we head into the break, they're 5th in the West, but they're tied with Portland for 4th. So they're going to be in the dogfight, and they're going to be in the mix to have the home court advantage in the opening round series, and it's going to be pretty big because the West is going to be tough. And I expect to see the Rockets start to rise to the occasion. The Timberwolves have some decisions to make as to how they want to go about things. They're 4 games out of the playoff hunt right now, heading into it, but this is a team that we still have failed to see any kind of consistency. As Karl Anthony Towns, I'm just not sold on this guy anymore.
Yep, absolutely. And, of course, the coaching change hasn't really done a whole lot for them.
It hasn't done much at all. And the whole resolving of the Jimmy Butler thing, it worked for a couple of weeks, but it seems to be back to where they were.
Doubleheader game on ESPN late night, 10:30 Eastern time, has Golden State at Portland. The Warriors here laying 4.5 total, 235. Of course, Warriors will be on a back-to-back after hosting Utah on Tuesday. And they faced Utah. The Warriors had won 4 straight but failed to cover 4 of 5. Portland returns home after losing and failing to cover in their both games on the road to Dallas and OKC. That Dallas loss was terrible. Held to 9 points in that 4th quarter. So the late night game on ESPN has Warriors at Trailblazers with Golden State laying 4.5 on a back-to-back. Yeah,
I was watching the Portland-Dallas game here, and I was saying to someone I was watching the game with that I was like, wow, I was going to take Dallas in this game. I'm glad I didn't give it out, and then all of a sudden they ended up winning the game, but didn't matter. I think that the Warriors on the road on the back-to-back, we just don't see this a ton, and there's no line. I'm not showing a line yet in this game, but I expect Portland to come out and treat this one like the Super Bowl. Once again, like we talked about, we're at that point in the season, though, even though it's the All-Star break, we're well past the halfway point of the NBA season. So you have to take that into consideration that teams are either going to be playing for the drive to the playoffs, or they're going to be playing to not be in the playoffs.
Yes, lineup tinkering.
So this is a big game for Portland, probably less so for Golden State. I expect the Blazers to leave it all on the court in this one.
Yeah, no doubt about that one. All right, Sports Big Info, our NBA podcast with Mitch. Reminder, guys, best place to listen to this is over on Apple iTunes. If you would, in the search box, type in the word Sports Big Info. Subscribe to our podcast, download, rate, and review, because that helps us out. And when you download it to your iPhone or your phone, you'll be able to pair it to your car stereo. Of course, you got Bluetooth car stereo. You can listen to us in your morning commute. So that'd be an idea there to download our podcast and subscribe. All right, Mitch, we'll look at some quick hitters here. 7 Eastern time, Brooklyn at Cleveland. These games will be on League Pass. We got Brooklyn road favorites here, 6.5 total, 221. Brooklyn getting a bit healthy now.
Guilty as charged. I took the Cleveland Cavaliers the other night against the Knicks in that battle of the 2 worst teams that you could possibly ever see. I don't think they're as lucky in this one. I just think the problem that I have in this game is the world is going to be on the Nets, and everyone knows when everybody's on one side, I'm never comfortable being on that side.
Yeah, no doubt about that. We'll see if I don't know. I don't like being on that side, especially on the road with the Nets laying this kind of number.
It's one of those games where it's like I like the Nets. I mean, they've been our team for a few years here, but I might have to pass on them in this spot, and I might leave a winner on the table by doing so.
7 Eastern time, League Pass, Bucks at Indiana Pacers. This is a pretty good one here. This opened 4. We're seeing some Pacer money here. Milwaukee, a 3.5 point favorite. Total sits at 218.5.
this Pacer franchise, this team is just tough as nails. I mean, Victor Oladipo goes down for the season, and it looked like they were dead in the water. They lost their next couple of games, looked terrible doing so. One of them was like a 40-point home loss to the Warriors. Meanwhile, this team has looked unbeatable recently, and I expect them to really give the Bucks a handful here. I like the Pacers.
One of the better games of the night there on League Pass. No line here, mid 7:30 Eastern time. Pistons on the road here facing Boston. Pistons had some point spread success against some of the lesser teams. Now they're stepping up in class, but Boston on back-to-back in this one.
Boston on a back-to-back. Also, coming home off the road, Philly. I'm gonna guess that some guys might sit in this game for Boston. That we're gonna have to watch out for.
We move over to 7:30 Eastern time. League Pass. It's Washington Wizards at Toronto. Toronto here laying 11, total 233.5. We know the Wizards' problems are just a mess over there.
Yeah, the Wizards are dumpster fire as well. Pretty tough situation for that franchise. John Wall out for the season. Otto Porter traded to the Bulls. Meanwhile, the Raptors trying to get back to that number one spot in the East. So I expect to see the Raptors put the hammer down here.
All right, we move over to 7:30 Eastern time. We've got the Philadelphia 76ers on a back-to-back spot. They're at New York, kind of a tricky spot here, facing the New York Knicks. I know they're playing a terrible team. We're right on the eve of the All-Star break. Knicks on a huge losing streak. They're vying for Zion as well. But Philly here laying 9.5, total 222.5.
I'll tell you the way that Barrett shot against Virginia, I almost like him better than Zion right now. But that's a different story for a different show. But I have to say that the Knicks really, this is one of the worst NBA teams I've ever seen in my whole life. And I mean, I've taken, through the years, in my dog of the day, I always feel that the teams that are really bad, like the Knicks, not quite the Knicks, but like the Nets we were on when they were horrible, the Sixers when they were horrible, these are our guys, And the Knicks, I don't even feel comfortable getting 9.5 in a game where the Sixers, who love to sit their star players, are likely to sit their stars coming off of a back-to-back, getting 9.5 points. This is just a really tough spot. The Knicks have put us in this position because they're 4-22 at home this season, and just 9-17 against the number. I have to take the Knicks here, but I can't say that convincingly.
Absolutely. 8 Eastern time. League Pass has Memphis on a back-to-back at Chicago facing the Bulls. Bulls favored by 2 or 1.5 in some places.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. You want to give me 2 points and you take the Chicago Bulls, I'll take almost any other team in the entire NBA except for the Knicks.
All right. We have 8:30 Eastern time. Miami Heat continuing their road here at Dallas. With Dallas favored at home, 2.5. Total sits at 209.
I don't know. I think 3 years from now we're going to be sitting on this show talking about how Dallas is in the NBA Finals again, right? It's like this team just looks – everything just seems to be going their direction. And, I mean, they trade for a guy who's out for the season, and they're still winning just on the trade. Getting rid of good players, getting a guy who's not going to play this season, and the team has gotten better somehow doing that. I don't know. This team's 7-2 against the spread in their last 10, 19-8 against the number at home. Not a great road team, so they really take care of business at home. I like the Mavericks here.
Yep, I have to agree with you on that one. Sports Pick Info, our podcast, our NBA segment here with Mitch, brought to you by picksandparlays.net. Right now, use the coupon code TonyT, 15% off your order. Of course, we've got the leaderboards at picksandparlays.net, so you can research the handicappers. All handicappers are documented. All picks are archived for your research ability. Of course, we'll scroll down here. We'll see all the handicappers listed here. And Mitch over at picksandparlays.net, I know we got that consensus report we'd like to talk about.
Absolutely. The consensus report, it's not actual picks. It just tells you how many handicappers are on each side of each game. And it's kind of a nice tool to have. You can use it with your premium picks. You can use it with your, you can use it with your premium picks. You can use it with your own picks. You can just, I think, to me, the cards where it has the less amount of games is when the consensus report really delivers the most value.
That's right. Ultimate Advantage. See how many pro handicappers are on each side for as little as $1.50 per day. It's now over 30 pro handicappers, all sport leagues included. Dynamic updated reports, spread, money line, and over-unders. And right now you can pick up a 7-day consensus report for $29.99. That's under $5 a day. As a matter of fact, use the coupon code TonyT, 15% off your order.
So it's less than $1.50 a day.
Yeah, it is.
15% off $1.50 a day. I don't know how we stay in business.
I don't either. 9 Eastern time. Boy, this is one of our favorite teams, Sacramento Kings on the road here against Denver. Man, they got a great spread record when they're not on back-to-backs here. Denver's laying anywhere from 7.5. I see some 8 someplace, but those will probably disappear, I think. Well, I'm seeing a lot of 7.5s in some of the market right now. Kings here getting points.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of points in this game. I love the over in this game at 230. I think we're going to see plenty of scoring in this one. We're seeing, the early action here is on Denver. A lot of early money on them. But the Kings, like you said, when they're not on a back-to-back, they're pretty tough.
Yeah, they're pretty tough, and they've done good on the road in this spot. 10:30 Eastern time. Phoenix Suns will be at the LA Clippers. I don't see a line in this game yet, and of course, LA Clippers always a tough spot. Mitch, Clippers coming off that 6-game road trip. It'll be the first home game after that road trip. Of course, Phoenix though they've just been terrible.
Yeah, Phoenix has been absolutely horrible. Them and the Knicks are really competing for that number 1 overall. Well, in the NBA draft, in the NBA, the worst record doesn't guarantee you the first pick. But let's just say, I think, don't you end up that you can't do any worse than third? If you have the worst record and you can't do any worse than fourth with the second worst, let's say that they're competing for that guaranteed third and fourth. Phoenix just 11-47 on the season. The thing is, I kind of like the way they're playing sometimes when Booker's in and Ayton and things are moving right. I mean, they seem to be headed in the right direction, but maybe it's kind of like the way the Sixers did it, where it's just a few years of real pain.
Absolutely. Sports Pick Info. I'm joined by Mitch here. Reminder, guys, those of you listening to us on the podcast, give us that thumbs up and subscribe, whether if you listen to us on SoundCloud, Stitcher, or even our YouTube channel over at Sports Pick Info. Give us that thumbs up, subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. And support our show by giving us that like, and Mitch will show you that thumbs up.
Absolutely.
All right, Mitch, on this card from the 11-game card from the NBA, any side or total really strike your fancy, get your attention here this early in the night?
Yeah, I like a couple of the totals that we mentioned, and I think that over in that final game of the night, the Clippers Suns, I like that, even though we're not sure what, or the Kings Nuggets was the one that I liked it in. I think we're going to see a lot of points there.
Yep, I think you're right there on that one. Sports Pick Info, guys. Remember we talked about picks and parlays using that coupon code TonyT gets you 15% off. Mitch, what you going to have up there for tomorrow's action?
I got 5 college basketball picks, and then those all be combined into one package, so you can use that discount code, get 15% off. It'll end up costing you about $40,
Absolutely.
A little more.
Awesome.
In that neighborhood. So my picks are never the most expensive picks. I don't have that $100 game of the year pick or that $200 game of the century pick. I just continue to give out picks. For me, it's just about putting you guys on winners.
Absolutely. And don't forget, guys, the 3-day, 7-day, and 30-day option over there will save you a lot of money when you sign up for a long-term package. That's the way to do it right now. Use the coupon code TonyT, 15% off your purchase. Now, Mitch did a college basketball segment with us. So those of you listening to the podcast or on YouTube watching the segment broadcast, check out the timeline for Mitch's college basketball podcast for the games on Wednesday. He'll throw out some picks at you your way. As always, Mitch, great talking with you. Have a good week.
I want to make one more comment. In the old format of the show, we used to just be able to talk about sports, and we would kind of just go on for an hour or two.
That's right.
And so my moment this week in sports, I was talking to John and Denise are visiting us, and John and I were watching the golf, and we just thought that, the golfers don't hold up the check anymore after the tournament is over, right? Because it would be ridiculous. Phil Mickelson holding up the check for $1.6 million when the guy's worth, $90 million, and they're talking about it just, how silly has this become?
Yeah.
They can't even hold up the check anymore.
What were your thoughts? That's right. And what were your thoughts of the new football league?
I thought that the quality of play was a lot better than any of the outside of the football leagues that we've seen in the past. And I've seen the World Football League, the U.S. Football League, the other Wrestling Football League, whatever it was called, and even the Canadian Football League. I thought the quality of football was really good.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. Of course, the passing out there. There's some good coaches there. They'll only get better. They only had a few scrimmages, so I think the gameplay will get better as they move on. Of course, one thing to note here with these new teams, it's tough for the offensive lines in this league.
Yeah, it is tough for the offensive lines. It's also it's tough for guys trying to make it as a special teamer since there really isn't any special teamers.
There's none.
I think it needs a couple tweaks, but I think the game itself moves quickly, right? It's like the games they're moving. And it's nice.
Yeah, it's good to see the rain out there. The fans are supporting it, and I think, of course, with all these TV outlets, people want to watch it. So there's lines.
The game, the AAF game, actually beat the Blazers Thunder game.
Yeah.
It actually outdid it. I don't think that's going to be a long-term thing. I think that's totally coincidence.
Yep. And I think Duke and Virginia still took the night though in that time. Actually, no, they played off, but they didn't play at the same time. They didn't go head to head.
Duke really played well in that game.
Yeah, they played really well. They shot the ball over their heads in that one. So the football league there, and of course we're getting close to the draft, Mitch. We're not too far, and they're going to start. Here, ABC TV is going to televise some of these draft combines. I can't believe it's going on over national airways. You hear about that?
I did not hear about ABC covering the draft combine, but I remember back in the day trying to get people to watch the NFL draft with me, and it was like people would last about 5 minutes.
All right, we'll talk to you then, Mitch.
All right, have a good week.
All right, our buddy Mitch here. On our podcast here, as I said before, be sure to check out the college basketball segment if you happen to watch us on this NBA segment, and Mitch will cover that for you. Hey, we're back Wednesday. We got Chip Trimbus looking at we'll look at the NBA for Thursday and college basketball's Thursday card. I'm Tony T. We'll see you tomorrow.